it was a real uh, delight and treat to go from playing a broad, physically comedic character that is one of the most iconic and famous roles in the American musical theater to something where I had a camera, I mean, inches away
Hmm.
from my face for most of the 8 hours of
Right.
content that we filmed. And
Hmm.
it was nice to show an audience what was behind my eyes and in my heart.
He's lying to you. He is trying to get you back in his life.
Or there is a family who lost a daughter who will never get answers.
Is that what your work said to you? Do you know how manipulative that is?
The shit that
what your father did is not your responsibility.
The shit that he said and the shit that I saw. I knew. I knew something was wrong. I never did anything about it.
You were a child.
But I am an adult now.
Do you not remember what happened last time you went? Because I do. You weren't okay for months, Melissa. You were a ghost.
I know that if I don't go there and deal with him, then he won't stop doing this. He will never leave us alone.
I'm not sure that you want him to leave you alone.
What does that mean?
Because even after everything that he has done, you still love him.
He wasn't always a monster. He became one. Before that, he was just my dad. You never saw that, but I did.
Well, it's so nice to talk to you. Congratulations on this series. You've done
Thank
really
you.
beautiful work here.
Thanks.
Obviously, this is based on a true story. There's a lot of emphasis in the show about kind of the obsession of true crime within the culture. Was this a story you had been familiar with before starting?
Yeah, I was actually familiar with Melissa Moore's journey through her podcast, Happy Face, and then also through my own true crime consumption. But my mom is actually the true crime aficionado in the family.
Mm.
And she's the one that I call for all things true crime. And she knew everything about this
Oh,
story.
really?
Yeah.
That's wild. What was her response then when you told her about the project?
She immediately understood how unique the show would be because she knew how important Melissa's sort of place in the true crime, uh, I would say the true crime cycle is, the true crime machine. And Melissa has a really unique voice because she has become an advocate for not only the victims of crime, but also for the families of the perpetrators of crimes and how both sides of the courtroom are really touched by the trauma of an act of violence. So she knew that this show was going to be a unique take, especially if it was from the point of view of a family member of a killer. That's something we've never seen before.
Hmm.
And our show, I think, has proven to be uh, a really lovely outlier in the genre.
Mm. Yeah, and we get to see Melissa's journey, through kind of the whole cycle of the story. And the kind of acting, required in a series like this is much different from something like Sweeney Todd, where you're playing to the last row, right? I mean,
Yes.
here Melissa's emotions are under the surface, and you have to use kind of, there's a lot more subtlety, I guess, in a performance like this. How do you approach acting in these very two different mediums?
That's a great question. I would approach both characters and any character in any medium with the same foundation. So really the basics. What do I want? How am I going to get it? Who is this person? What is their relationship to everybody else? What is my obstacle? And then the medium really dictates the expression of the character and the physicality. And so for something on stage, the tone of the piece and the genre is really going to dictate my physicality and the way I play. But in something like this, I would say the same is true. What's the tone? What's the genre? Um, and it was a real uh, delight and treat to go from playing a broad, physically comedic character that is one of the most iconic and famous roles in the American musical theater to something where I had a camera, I mean, inches away
Hmm.
from my face for most of the 8 hours of
Right.
content we filmed. And it was nice to show an audience what was behind my eyes and in my heart. I did miss, though. I always miss on camera. I always miss like what their response is. That's what you get in the theater that you don't get on TV and film.